Welcome to the Lucas Miles Show. I'm your host, Lucas Miles, coming to you from the National Religious Broadcasters in Nashville, Tennessee, and here with friend and guest today, Colton Dixon. How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm awesome. You good?
I'm really good. Yeah,
Good.
no, this is exciting.
Yeah. Welcome to Nashville.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a local.
Yeah, I grew up in Murfreesboro, about 45
Yeah.
minutes outside of here. My wife and I live in South Nashville.
Now, is she from here as well?
No, she's originally from Tulsa.
Okay.
We met when she was living in California.
Okay.
I like to think she's more of an LA girl than a Tulsa girl.
Yes.
Best of both.
Yes, I like it.
But yeah, we're here in Nashville now and loving it. Hope the city's treating you well.
That's cool. It's
Yeah.
been awesome so far. Yeah,
Good.
It's been really good, and always love coming down here. I think this is my third NRB at this hotel, so it's beautiful space. You know, it's wonderful. A little rainy, but we're making the best of it.
What's
so
nice about the hotel, though, you never have to leave.
you feel like you're in a greenhouse. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just like this giant,
kinda
like
nice.
indoor rainforest.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome without the monkeys, which I'm sure they might have someplace, but.
I think they're hiding somewhere, yeah.
Shit, they let them out at night. So we got to hang out here recently a little bit in D.C.
Yeah.
At the National Prayer Breakfast.
Yeah, we did.
How was that experience for you?
Man, it was amazing. It was really cool getting to meet people like you guys, you and your wife, and just to see how many different leaders across the world believe very similarly to you
Yeah.
and I. It was very encouraging. My wife and I left really encouraged. Got to see the Museum of the Bible while we were there.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. If you haven't done it, go.
I always tell people, and we'll give them like a free plug here. I always tell
Yeah.
people to go, and I think in people's minds they're going, okay, Museum of the Bible, you know, and you don't know what you're going to get like when you walk in there.
Sure, like us, we had
And
no idea.
Like the technology, the layout, it's the architecture of the space. It's just really, it's remarkable.
It is. It's well done.
They should be paying us right now.
They should be.
Yes.
They should be. Let's get on that.
I'm going to send this to them. Perfect. So let's talk a little bit. So you got, I don't want to say you got your start because I would assume you were doing music before American Idol.
Yeah.
I mean, what level?
Not professionally.
Like just for your mom, or what kind of?
It was just outside of the parents' phase.
Okay.
My parents were still showing up at the shows.
Okay.
But we had like a few fans.
Okay.
But
Now
we weren't really outside the gate
Yeah.
much. But American Idol was kind of like the big door that opened.
So you were on the
for us.
11th season of American Idol.
Correct.
And you were 7th, is that right?
7th. Great memory. Yes, sir.
I read a Wikipedia page. And
Don't believe everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, you know, talk to me a little bit. I know you've done a lot of interviews on this, but just, you know, to kind of introduce, you know, your story a little bit to our listeners here. You know, after that experience, where did that take you?
Yeah, first of all, it's a crazy experience. Kind of a crash course in the music industry, from performing to songwriting to the business side of things.
Did you have one of the mentors? Did they have somebody at that time who was working with you guys?
They bring in several different people
Okay.
who have done well. One week would be like Stevie Nicks,
Yeah.
and the next week would be P. Diddy.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
very opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool to hear from them. They've been successful.
Yeah.
Someone like Stevie Nicks is just a legend. So that was really cool to hear from them. And then we also had some behind-the-scenes mentors as well that
Okay.
help us with arrangements and things. So we got to hear from people who've been doing it for a long time,
That's
which
cool.
was great. But, man, after that, it was you kind of just feel like you're launched into space and you haven't read, like, the handbook yet.
I imagine you have a ton of people reaching out to you.
Yes.
Going, hey, I mean, trying, because now, I mean, that's now a business. It's almost like the equivalent in my mind for these reality shows of like, and hopefully this isn't offensive when I say it. Now I have to think through this. It's, you know, you have attorneys that are out there that, you know, kind of the joke is they're chasing ambulances, handing out their business cards.
Sure.
You know, and you have people now, probably agents and managers that are, you know, seeing people come off these shows and looking for those next opportunities. Were you prepared at all on how to like navigate that initially?
I mean, yes and no. The company that was partnered with American Idol, they go by 19 Entertainment, and they kind of said, hey, we're actually going to wind up picking you up. And they didn't do that for everyone, so I was flattered.
Yep.
At the same time, also meant I lost a lot of control
Sure.
over things. But they helped me navigate those things. So from that aspect, I was really appreciative.
That's cool.
One of those deals being Capital Christian Music, which I was signed with for a long time.
Yeah. And great guys over there.
Great guys.
Yeah.
Let's still love those guys. But Yeah, it was just crazy that God planted that desire in my heart when I was 13 years old. Had no idea how big it would get, but just to see door after door open, and the timing was right.
You really grew up watching Idol, right?
We did. We loved it as a family, and we still watch it. We haven't watched the new season yet, but it's great. But it's
I caught
fun.
a little bit here recently.
Is it good?
Yeah, it was good.
Cool.
I enjoyed it, and we've had Mary Hudson, Katy Perry's mom, on the show before. For the Lucas Miles show.
They're so sweet.
We like keeping up, with what she's doing. So yeah, it was. It's. I've enjoyed what I've seen of the season so far.
Awesome. Let's check it out.
So you have a couple big announcements.
Yes.
Here recently. One very big one.
One very big one.
Yes.
They both involve babies. One is I've got a new musical baby forming, be out soon. But the second is more important. Is we're about to be first-time parents, and we have an actual baby coming. Thank you so much. We're pumped and thrilled, and I don't think it's fully hit us quite yet.
Yeah.
So we're as excited as we can be without fully knowing
how does this
all the
affect
details,
life and everything.
Sure,
else. Yes.
we're talking through those things, and as a touring musician, it's like life's about to change. It's about to look a lot different.
Yeah.
And he would travel with me all the time.
Right.
So now we're having conversations like, well, I guess you're not going to be on the road with me all the time.
Yeah.
So just those conversations have been really interesting and but good. Like, we're excited for this new season and for growth, and yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's cool. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, it's you have a lot of, artists and influencers, and you don't always get to see that kind of behind the scenes decision-making process of what they're going through, and, having to think about, do I say yes to this? And by saying yes to this one thing, it means I'm saying no to something else. And sometimes that's time with my family, and how do we weigh that? And so do you guys have any rules or tips and tricks that you guys apply to those decisions as you navigate this?
That would be wise. I think we're still in the development phase of what those boundaries are.
We can work on that.
What you just said was huge, though. If I say yes to something, it means I'm saying no to something else. Whereas before, it was you just say yes to everything because it's an opportunity.
Right. Yeah. And you feel like you have to.
Yeah, you feel like you have to.
Yep.
Sure, but Annie was also with me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was necessarily saying no to something.
Right.
But now those yeses come at a cost.
Yeah.
So sure, you're weighing. I'm like, all right, the month of August and the month of September, it's going to have to be a really good offer. Put it that way.
Right.
We haven't talked about what that figure is yet.
Ellen, if you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening, August and September works for me. But anyway, so it's just been really fun and not hard, but just different to navigate. Like, okay, this is what life is going to look like now. With all that said, we are beyond excited.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this other thing that you have. You've signed a deal with Atlantic Records.
Yes.
So what can fans maybe expect that's coming?
Yeah. So we actually did this deal a couple years ago, and I've been writing ever since then. So it's been a lot of, what do I want to say? What do I feel like I need to say? Musically exploring sounds that I had never had before, finding the best fit for not only what I love, but what naturally my voice fits into as well. And man, I think we've landed on something so cool and fresh for me. We've released one song so far. It's called Miracles. It's very different. It's the first time I've ever tackled like a Latin beat. So if you enjoy that, you're going to love this.
We'll put a link. There's a video out for that.
Yes, there's a video as well.
We'll put a link to the video in our show notes.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy that. But it's just a lot of new. Even with the new baby coming.
Yeah.
This year we knew it was going to look very different. Even before we found out all the news, signing with a mainstream record company just means things are going to look a little different.
Yeah.
And you have to package things a little different. So we are trying our best to navigate that while still being good stewards of what God has given us and the platform that He's given us. We just think that, not that it's a better platform, it might just be a little bit bigger platform than what we've had here in the Christian market. We're just going to try and outstretch our hands a little wider and include a bigger group of people.
Would you define yourself more as an artist who is a believer, more so than a Christian artist?
I love that you just asked me that, because most people don't think in those terms.
Yeah.
I think all people are artists who are believers.
Yeah.
I think there is a market for writing songs for the church.
Yeah.
And writing songs for Christian people that they might not play on mainstream radio because the language can be a little different.
Yeah.
But man, I've always been like, man, I really want to create good art.
Yeah.
I think God is a great artist.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
world around you, you know? So I take inspiration from that, and I want to do the very best that I possibly can do. And being very open and honest with you, I don't even know if I should say this, but I feel like
we
sometimes...
can edit it out later if we need to.
Well, it's something that I think is true is that sometimes in order to fit inside of a market, sometimes you have to wear down some edges or water down some creativity, and I hate that. It bothers me. I'm like, as Christians, we should be the most creative. So I think, not that I wasn't able to do that before, I feel like I just have some more resources to make it easier to do that, and I'm really pumped because it's the same message, but it just, I feel like it
you know, if I put on my pastor hat for a moment, which, you know, I don't bring that out all the time in the show. You know, I mean, you see that in the Bible with Paul, you know, who's initially was focused on the Jews, and then started, you know, really taking a message to the Gentiles.
Yes.
And I think that,
So
you know,
good.
I think we have a model for that, and I think that, you know, to me, like, I'm encouraged. Because I feel that same way. Like I have a you know, a sphere of influence within that church world.
Sure.
But I also do a lot of things that, I mean, I've done deals with Netflix and Showtime and other places that, you know, you don't think of as Christian marketplaces.
Sure.
And so, you know, the I you know, on in a little bit of a different way, I have to think about that same conversation within my head. And I have people ask me all the time, like, are you going to do ministry or media stuff? And I'm going like, why do I have to choose?
Yeah, why can't it
you
be
know?
both?
Yeah. And so, but I think those lines are starting to blur a little bit in a good way with, you know, some louder front runners, we'll call them, of guys like Kanye and Bieber, who are obviously, you know, kind of doing some things that's being received in both, you know, communities across that spectrum. Do you have any thoughts maybe about, I don't want to get you in trouble at all with the question, but do you have any thoughts that when you see, you know, stuff like that happen with Kanye dropping, you know, albums and, you know, Bieber's new album changes, you know, what are your thoughts as an artist and as a believer, you know, about projects like that?
I think it's amazing. Yeah, I really think it's amazing to see someone who's been so caught up in the world.
Yeah.
To have this radical transformation reminds me a lot of someone in the Bible.
Yeah.
That same person that you were just talking about. We had someone who was killing Christians.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just like he was dabbling in this and that. He hated God.
Yeah.
And God just met him where he was, and then boom, radical transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I hear some people, I live in the South, so Bible Belt,
Sure.
you know, very traditional can be.
Yep.
I hear a lot of people like, we'll see if it's legit, you know, we're holding out. And I'm like, man, you know what? Like, even when the dude falls, because he's human and he's going to make a mistake.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. If you think otherwise, just use your brain. But
we all do, but some people just have cameras following them when they do.
Sure.
You know?
I think they're doing a really great job.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who's been under the microscope their entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm really pumped. And honestly, as an artist who is trying to navigate what it looks like between Christian music and reaching lost people, I'm like, well, that's pretty awesome.
Right.
And that's a great example of how you can be a believer and have standards and good morals in the secular world while making music that you believe in. That's good music.
Right.
So I'm pumped.
No, that's awesome.
And
I think that to me, the only response that the church or believers should have during, you know, when we see things like that is to root for people.
Yeah.
Is to go, you know, and also recognize that, you know, I say a lot of times that gifts don't mean necessarily maturity. And so you can have somebody that's really gifted in a certain way, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're mature in that. And I think that, you know, we could see that. I mean, I would have the same conversation about somebody talking about Trump's faith. You know, it's and you know, you can go, look, just because of somebody believes something doesn't necessarily mean they're mature or that we should follow everything they say about, you know, a particular topic.
Completely agree with you.
And
it's good.
And so as you are maybe forecasting, and I like putting on kind of this futurist mindset sometimes. Sure. How is music and kind of this industry changing, you know, that you've been able to kind of watch? Is there stuff that you're sort of going, okay, I want to get ahead of this curve and this, we have to do it like this? You know, are you having those conversations or those thoughts right now? You thought we were just going to hang out here, but I'm going to push you a little bit. So
legit questions here.
We can get another coffee if you need it.
You know, I might need one after. I think it's really easy to look at trends and to try and stay with them. Someone I'm going to brag on, and we're not even that good of friends, but someone that I see who just has a lane and he does it is actually a rapper. He goes by NF. He started on the same. He's actually still with Capital. Yeah. Just kind of grew into the head honcho Capital or whatever. But he's a guy that just had a rough upbringing, and he talks about it in a very real way. Yeah. And tries to bring in hope when he can. When you're real and you're transparent, people identify. Yeah. And I could write songs that tries to make it as cookie cutter as possible. Yeah. But people can kind of sniff it out, I think. Yeah. So when it comes to trends and things like that, like, I try my best to listen to what God wants to say. And there are moments where I'm like, oh, I'm taking over this song. I want to do what I want to with it, and I need to get better about that. But those moments I have where I'm like, you know what? Like, I have an opportunity to be real here and to point people to Jesus at the same time, even if they don't know that's what I'm doing. Right. That's the beauty of what this new season that I'm in. Yeah. Man, I feel like that translates more than being, like having the current sound or whatever. People want real, and they want a connection, and that will transcend any, popularity, whatever.
I mean, to me, it comes down to being real, using the gifts that you have, and recognizing the influence and the opportunities. It's I mean, and I'm sure you've been, aware of these conversations. We've seen artists criticized for certain shows they go on, or certain people that they appear with, and to me, like, that should be where the church is. That should be where we are as believers. And I think you've navigated that really well. Thank you. Have seemed to, at least from my vantage point, seem to do it with avoiding a lot of controversy and how you've gone about it. Sure. Is there thoughts or strategies that has maybe helped you navigate that you've put in place?
That's a great question as well. It's something that I'm kind of the opinion that say a movie comes to me, and it's a movie that I don't necessarily agree with, but they say, hey, we really love your song X, Y, or Z, and we would love to put it in our movie. Obviously, there's still some movies I might not have peace about it. Right. You know what, we're going to pass, but thanks for your interest. Yeah. But I think for the most part, I'm like, man, if someone who goes to this movie and they love this type of movie, whatever it is, and it's something that I don't agree with, they hear my song and they go, that's a cool song. Right. I want to check out more of his stuff. Yep. And that's how Jesus is introduced in our life. Who am I to not allow them to do, what I mean? Yep. And I feel like whenever we're closed-minded, when we're like, well, no, right here in this moment, I don't agree with this thing. It's like, well, can it be used for his glory? Yep. Yes, it can. So I think you can have things out, or I could appear on The Ellen Show, or I could appear on things that sometimes I don't always agree with, their views on politics or whatever it may be. Yeah. And be like, you know what? Like, she's a human being, and I love her. Yeah. I think she brings so much joy into people's homes every day. She's actually like one of my favorite people ever.
And we've seen her reach across the aisle, and with some of those friendships and relationships that she's developed. And so I think that's, to me, it's. I mean, if we can't operate in love towards people, there's a bigger problem, going on there.
Kind of goes back to the American Idol days for me. Yeah. I felt so strong that I was not supposed to come in preachy, that I was just supposed to let God shine through me, and he would open the right doors to have the conversation, and he did, and he would. But I think when we come in with the finger pointed, then it shuts down the conversation. Yeah. But when we come in like, hey, like, we love you, like, it's cool. Not that we always have to agree, But whenever you establish relationship and connection, people open up, and then they'll realize that you're happier than I am.
Right.
Or this seems to be working out better for you.
Yeah.
What's your secret?
Yep.
And it's like, well, it's nothing that I can or can't do. It's someone who's living inside of me.
Yep.
And truthfully, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that you get to have that conversation. They respect you, even if they don't walk away agreeing with you.
Yeah.
That's so important, and I think it's an area that's sometimes missed.
Yep. No, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. So speaking of wisdom, before we wrap here, if you were talking to, and I mean wrap close, not that we're going to wrap, or at least I won't be.
I would pay to see that.
If you were to be talking to, maybe we have somebody listening or watching that is, they're just getting started on their music career. They're
Sure.
trying to kind of break in. They got some stuff up on SoundCloud, and they're trying to kind of make this happen.
Doing it, yeah.
What sort of advice would you say to maybe that person who's out there?
Man, it could be such a tricky thing because I feel like it's kind of twofold. It's the easiest time to get into music, and it's also the hardest time to get into music. The reason for both, it's the easiest because we have access to a laptop. Everyone does.
Yep.
And everyone has access to free software to make music.
Right.
And you honestly, I have some fancy toys at my house that I like, whatever. You don't need them.
Right.
You need a laptop, and you don't even need a good microphone. You
Yeah.
can record your vocals into your laptop mic.
Yeah.
If a good song's a good song. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's the hardest because everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So it's harder to stand out.
Yeah.
But man, the thing that I've learned, a couple things that I've learned that I'll tell you, is that when people come to your shows, they're not there for you. You're there for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that perspective shifted for me even just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Off of Idol.
That's cool. I like that.
Had so many people, especially in the early days, you realize how many people watch the show when you go out on a tour. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. And there's some crazy people out there. They're just crazy. And you're like, wow. They
Yeah.
drove 3 hours
Right.
to see me at a show. It's pretty cool.
Right.
And it starts going to your head. But then when your perspective changes,
Yeah.
you're like, what do I have to offer them tonight?
Mm.
Why they're coming here because they think that they can get something from me that they can't get from anywhere else.
Right.
What is it? And I'm like, ooh, it's responsibility.
Yeah.
So whatever the message is that you're preaching or singing about, whatever, make sure it's a good one and it's
Yeah.
worthwhile. But two, don't be afraid to take risks musically, especially before you sign to a label and you have to worry about radio.
Yeah.
Go for it. Work harder than everyone else in the room. Write a song a day. I know that sounded so crazy to me. I came off of Idol and I wrote 14 songs in 13 days.
Wow. That's cool.
And felt like a zombie afterwards.
I bet.
But in that batch of songs were my first 2 singles.
Wow.
That we released on my first project. You just never know when the right song's going to come
Right.
along. So work harder than everyone else. Don't be afraid to take risks and realize that you're there to serve people. That's the big one. When you serve people and make a connection with them, they'll like you. They'll like your charisma. They'll want to follow you. They won't just like your song. They'll be a fan of you. So whatever you put out, they're going to be first in line to grab it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, last question.
Come on.
Let's talk hair care products.
Come on, let's
What
go.
do you use? Because I rarely get hair envy, but I'm kind of feeling it a little bit right now.
I brought my trimmers. We could really hook you up.
All right.
I just made a switch.
Okay, I'm listening.
I was on set for the music video for
Yeah.
Miracles, and the person doing hair pulled out this brand. I'm gonna butcher it.
Okay.
I think it's called Hans de Foucault.
Okay.
That's so not right, but I'm not gonna try and pronounce it any other way. So, it's called Claymation. I
Okay.
think it's really thick
Yeah.
and kind of hard to work with.
Yeah.
But it keeps it in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I'm a L'Oreal poker paste,
Yeah.
and it's real thick too. And I've had to train the gal that cuts my hair how to apply it. Because like after she cuts my hair and she does it, she's like, I don't know how you work with this stuff. And I'm like, let me show you.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
My guy that cuts my hair, Nick, he's just like, I'll let you style it. I don't even try. You're so picky. I'm like, I know. I'm kind of a diva when it comes to my hair. It is what it is.
I love it. My guest today, Colton Dixon, talking about his new deal with Atlantic Records, his baby on the way, and and hair care products. I mean, we did it all today. I love this.
We covered every base. It's great.
ColtonDixon.com is that the place to go?
ColtonDixon.com. That's it.
Check it out. Grab some new music. Check out the new song Miracles, and thanks for watching. Hey, just want to say thank you for listening to the Lucas Miles Show. Give us a shout out. We'd love to have you share this episode, help some other people find out about the program. If this was something that you enjoyed, make sure and tell a friend. And don't forget, hit us up on social media. You can find me at Mr. Lucas Miles. That's at Mr. Lucas Miles on both Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, actually, all three. So check us out there, and we got some amazing interviews coming up later this month. In the meantime, thanks for listening to The Lucas Miles Show.